Now we are honoured to introduce someone whose career stands as a testament to justice, resilience, and the power of using your voice for good.
He is a respected barrister, a passionate advocate for youth, and a compelling public speaker who is committed to making a real difference both in and outside of the courtroom. Please join us in welcoming Stephen Akinsanya.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Thank you, Manju, for inviting me. I was quite fortunate because I was in the middle of a court case, and I said to the judge yesterday, I've got a commitment at the House of Commons, and she was curious to know what it was about, and I said, well, it's my usual passion, young people. She said, you must go. We'll resume the case on Friday. So it's nice to have that support. I ask any judge who asks a barrister, how long are you going to be in your submissions or a speech? And you'll know not to believe them. And that's why I'm going to read my speech, because otherwise we could be here for a long time. As I say, it's an honor to stand here with you today, not in a courtroom, but in a space, hopefully, of reflection, hope, and transformation. How did I get to this position of really not just doing the day job of defending and representing young people, often charged with murder, but this passion for young people to be all that they are called to be? I'm so passionate about it, and it's because I have this thing about recognizing that our time on any stage is limited, and so most of our time should be in preparation for those coming behind us, not hogging the limelight. And I remember my son, one of my sons, seeing me in the kitchen preparing a murder case, and I was sadly looking at a young man who'd lost his life to knife crime. And my son saw me weeping, and he said, my gosh, what's wrong with you? Why are you crying? And this was about 7 or 8 years ago, and I said, for the first time, I'm looking at a young man who could be you. He looks like you, could be my son. And it was then that I decided that, rather than just be the guy in the courtroom wearing the wig and the gown and doing what I do, I want to educate, inform young people about the realities of knife crime, but also more than that. I've been a mentor for over 20 years. The very first person I mentored was 13. He's now, he's a man. He's a man with a family. Now, I've spent 32 years of my life in courts defending, sadly and increasingly, many, not much older than some of you here today, who have been accused of committing the most serious crimes involving knives and drugs, ranging from robbery to murder. And if there's one thing that I've learned, it's this: behind almost every charge sheet is a child who has failed long before they ever failed anyone. Now, the theme of this conference, Empowering Futures, Breaking Cycles of Violence and Exclusion, that is not just a slogan. It is the most urgent task, I believe, we face if we're serious about justice. And I don't just mean justice in the legal sense, I mean real justice, the kind that heals, includes, and uplifts. What I see in the courtrooms, and I want to be clear about this, I do not just defend criminals, I defend people, often vulnerable, often scared, and often invisible. I see 16-year-olds dragged into gangs, not because they're violent, but because no one else offered them protection. I see teenagers criminalized for defending themselves in homes or communities where violence is the norm. I see boys made to feel like men too, or perceiving what manhood is all about, too soon, and girls judged for surviving trauma they never chose. Now, these are not just legal cases, these are, as I say, cries for help. They are symptoms of cycles of poverty, of neglect, of exclusion. And those cycles don't begin in the dock. They begin much, much earlier, in schools that exclude rather than support, in homes without safety, and in streets where belonging comes with a postcode and a price. I made a decision many years ago to become a school governor of not just my primary school, my former primary school, but also my secondary school, because I wanted to know what was going on in those schools and why certain youngsters were being identified as problem children and being excluded. Because imagine this, I'm 57 now, but I remember a boy who was being told in Thornton Heath that he was a troublemaker, that he was a class disruptor, that he wouldn't amount to much. And here I am, 57 years later, and 32 years in my legal career. My barrister's chambers is literally that direction if you head down towards Embankment. A young man I'm not looking for applause, please. A young man I defended for murder said to me, after spending 13 weeks with him, "I wish you were my dad." And that hit me hard. I spent 13 weeks with this guy. He is now serving a life sentence for murder with a tariff of 32 years. He's going to be in his 40s before he's even considered for release. So the myth of the bad kid, we need to challenge the myth of the bad kid. No child, I believe, wakes up wanting to be violent, to be feared, or to hurt others. More often than not, violence is learned, exclusion is experienced, and when a young person grows up feeling unheard, unloved, or unsafe, what we often label as offending is really just coping. But I believe that there is good news. What's been learned can be unlearned, and I truly believe that if intervention comes early enough, cycles can be broken. But only if we stop treating young people as the problem and start treating them as the solution. I believe in real empowerment. That means real change. Empowerment isn't telling young people to just make better choices, whilst ignoring the fact that many weren't given any real choices to begin with. Real empowerment means intervening early, not when it's too late. Listening deeply, not just judging quickly. Building trust, not just issuing punishment. Creating opportunity, not just offering second chances as if they're handouts. I've represented young men who were failed by every adult around them until one teacher, one mentor, one youth worker believed in them, and that belief changed the course of their life. And at this point I want to recognize Jenny Dallas. Last year I flew up to Scotland to pay my respects to Jenny, who passed away. But Jenny was the teacher at Downsbury Primary in Thornton Heath, who, when other teachers were telling me I wouldn't amount to much, said, "Stephen, don't listen to them. Don't listen to them, son. You can be anything you want to be." And she stayed friends with me from age 10 till well into my 50s before she passed away. And so I say that because every young person has to have someone who will believe in them. And that's all it takes, someone who will stand in the gap. I believe the system must do better. Our justice system is supposed to be blind, but too often it's not blind, it's blinking, as I say. It sees race, it sees poverty, it sees postcode, and it too often presumes guilt based on stereotypes before hearing a word of evidence. If we want to break the cycle, the system itself must change. Your voice matters. To the young people in this room, to the young people I say, you are not powerless. In fact, you are the most powerful voice in this conversation, because you know what the system feels like. You know what exclusion does. You know what works and what doesn't. And your voice can change everything. Don't let anyone tell you that your past defines your future. Just following on from what Polly said, when I was failing my O-levels, as I did before I resat them, when I was failing my A-levels, before I resat them. When I went to bar school and didn't make it through in 1992, but I had to wait a whole year to be called to the bar in 1993, the resounding thing in my head was, I'm not failing, it's delayed success. I do not like that word failure. Delayed success. And so I believe that your voice can change everything. Coming towards the end. You and more are more than the worst thing you've ever done, or the worst thing ever done to you. You have the right to be heard, to be safe, to be educated, to be employed, to dream. My charity is called Life of Focus. And I remember addressing a group just a few weeks ago, and I said to them, how many of you like to dream? And everyone put their hands up. And I said, dreaming is good. Even as a child or as an adult, dreams are what inspires us. It's what makes us thrive. It's what makes us hungry. It's what makes us get up in the morning. And yes, to lead. A call to the adults in the room, to the professionals, any lawyers here, teachers, police officers, youth workers. We must ask ourselves some hard questions. Are we protecting or profiling? Are we supporting or surveilling? Are we lifting up young people or labeling them? It's not enough to speak about justice. We must practice it. That means listening before judging. It means making space for young voices at every level of the decision-making process. And it means believing that no young person is beyond redemption. And in concluding, I say this, breaking cycles is not easy work. I've realized that after the many years I've been in practice and the many years I've been fighting this battle against knife crime. And I'd say to you that there are days I wake up and I say to my friends and my family, I'm tired. But the work must continue because I know it is not easy. But I believe we can do it because I've seen it. I've seen defendants become mentors. I've seen people turn their lives around. I've seen young people choose to walk a different path rather than picking up a knife. I've seen young people grow in strength where trauma once ruled their lives. And I believe that if we create the right conditions, trust, opportunity, safety, young people will rise, they will thrive. And in this place that we are today, I hope that these words echo through the walls to those who are making the decisions about our future, which is all of you, the young people, not people like me. The question is, will we rise, adults with them? Let's build a world, a nation, a community, an environment where young people don't have to recover from their childhoods, where courts are the last resort, not the only option, and where futures are built not on fear, but on hope, justice, and belonging. God bless you. Thank you.